Welcome to 5 Minutes with Errol Musk. I'm Annika, clinical psychologist, and tonight we're going to ask Errol to tell us a bit more about his second eldest son, Elon's brother, Kimbal. Errol and Kimbal.
Yeah, Kimbal, yes, so much about Elon and not that much about Kimbal these days. But in fact, of course, a lot of people do know Kimbal because he's very involved in so many things, and he's the complement of Elon. In other words, when you put Elon and Kimbal together, you have a complete set of very usable people. Kimbal is very capable of talking to people, obtains immediate affection from people, and I've never known of anyone who's ever said anything bad about Kimbal. I've never met anyone who didn't like Kimbal, and he's a very responsible, incredibly responsible boy. And as a youngster, when we used to travel overseas, he was the with Tosca, Kimbal and Elon. Kimbal was the navigator, so he always did the navigating when we drove around Europe and wherever, America, Europe, wherever. He was the navigator. So, and he took his job very seriously. He also took care of all the passports and such like. So he was, your sort of ideal child, and he's done very well. He started off with Elon, which I wanted them to do together because of the circumstances, and out of that he became able to start things of his own, but still remained with Elon in Tesla and SpaceX as the two directors of SpaceX, and which was a very good thing because Elon is a very brilliant person, doesn't always convey his thoughts as you might say, I won't say as pleasantly, but I don't know if that's the right word, but let's say pleasantly as Kimbal. Kimbal, on the other hand, can tell you that he can tell you to go to hell in a very nice way, where you actually look forward to the trip. You know what I mean? But yeah.
He's a diplomatic person.
Very diplomatic, very. He just automatically, and. So he went into, he sort of branched off to fill up his real time, a lot of his time. Of course, he does all these company directorships, but to fill up his time, he's gone into the restaurant industry. So he has a great interest in Chipotle, or I think the Mexican fast food business, and with many outlets. And then he has many restaurants, which were originally called the Kitchen, which was, I think, a very good word, but there was some problem with it, because other people claimed it and so on. But at any rate, he has many very high quality restaurants across the United States, and they serve what is known as whole food, in other words, or natural food, not genetically modified food. In other words, and he's also involved with the farmers, the farming of it. And then of course he's done something incredible, and that is that in recent years, he started, some years back, he started the Living Gardens, which is where in primary schools they lay out the half of a pipe, which is about a meter or a yard wide, and they wind it through the playground, and then they fill it with fertile soil, divide it into sections, and the children are taught to grow vegetables. Now, when he was small, Kimbal and I had a very big vegetable garden, very big. I mean, I could, feed off the top. But it's on a large piece of land in Johannesburg, in Sandton, on the horse farm. I used the horse dung as fertilizer. But at any rate, Kimbal learned a lot there with growing vegetables, so he knew all about it. And so this idea to teach children where vegetables come from in primary schools is absolutely brilliant, and they have been doing hundreds and hundreds of schools.
Well, Kimbal also involved in Sandton.
In Sandton?
In Sandton, with the vegetables that you grew on the...
Yes, he was there. I mean, we grew them together, me and him. I grew the stuff. He helped me. He saw what was going on. He was a small boy at the time, but he helped me. And, he would go and he was a very good cook, actually. From very early age, he could cook very well. And he actually now has a chef qualification. Which he did special. It says the hardest thing he ever did, actually, and he back in the days of the horse farm, he would go out and select vegetables for dinner, like lettuce and tomato and onion and carrots and pumpkin, or whatever he wanted, or whatever we were going to prepare. And so he was very involved. And now the Living Gardens is to teach children how to grow vegetables, which is essential. And in this day and age, where children are not exposed to as much as they used to be to things like that, it's very important. I mean, I, as a small child, I lived in England after the Second World War. The government gave, or the municipality gave, people in a city little plots of land. It happened in Germany as well, right next to the railway track. In other words, good land, but it's right next to the railway track. And they got these little plots. They weren't very big. They were, probably 10 meters by 10 meters. You each got this little piece. There were no fences, but people used to tie little bits of string just to denote, don't stand here, around their plots. And on those little plots in England, people grew all the vegetables because England's so rainy and so fertile. People were able to grow all the vegetables they needed for the household. So even though we had rationing, we had turnips, we had everything, onions, especially potatoes, that we grew on those little plots. So it was quite odd in those. No, I wouldn't say odd, but I mean, looking back, it's a bit odd. So, we need potatoes. So your mom tells you, so you get on the bicycle, and you drive right out to the railway plot, to the plot next to the railway line, and you take your fork. Nobody took anything down. You could leave your tools, leave everything. Nobody steals in England. Nobody in those days. Nobody steals anything. So nobody takes anybody else's things. So you could find your fork, and you'd fork up a few potatoes. You see, and then your mother would tell you, I need so many, and you 8 or something, and then you dig up 8, and then you take them home. Or you might ask for an onion as well, and then you take that as well. And that's how we did it in those days. Oh. So I never remember a bad meal. But anyway, so I learned that, and then I passed it on sort of to Kimbal, and then Kimbal's of course taken it, sky high.
No, so at school, a relationship between Elon and Kimbal, was it like, were they in competition?
No, very close. No, very close. No, I didn't tolerate that. I didn't have to. I told them at a very early age, which I mentioned before in another interview, that your brother and your sister are the closest people you're ever going to have in your life. So don't under any circumstances create division between your brother or your sister, ever. Because they are the people that are the closest to you throughout your life. Those are the people that will be the ones who will save you, will come and fetch you when you're in dire need. Do not alienate your brothers and sisters. So they understood that very well, and so all of them are very, very close, including my children with Haida. They are considered sisters and are treated as such. So nobody says anything that will hurt another. They help each other. Yeah.
No, the Musk blood.
In every way.
The Musk blood flow in all of them.
Yes, I hope so.
Errol, and then you once told me a very interesting incident about Kimbal when you were absent. I think he was, 14, 15, 16, and I think you were signing checks or something.
Oh, yeah. No, as a youngster, when I had the boys at home, raising them, as a single parent, I realized I needed to be a parent on hand. I'd be there, I couldn't just go off and like I used to be, going all sorts of places, and I had to be on hand. So sometimes though I did have to go away, and then having handed my office to my other engineers, I worked from home for special clients. And then Kimbal, if I was going away, I'd say, look, there's a contractor coming, and he's going to bring you his claim. I don't know what it's going to be exactly, but it should be something like this. He would have this big checkbook, you see, Kimbal, and he'd be like 14, and then I'd say you'll see the forms, and you just check the form. You go through these forms like this, and I showed him, and he was very quick. He's very smart. In fact, I once heard at school that the parents have to sign at Florida Boys High School have to sign the parents' homework the children's homework every day. So I heard this from another parent. So I thought, wait a minute. I said, Kimbal, tell me something. I'm not supposed to be signing your homework. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't want to sign your homework. He says, don't worry, Dad. I mastered your signature years ago. so Kimbal signed all homework. And, you know, it was just like that. I mean, in his 4th year at university, he was actually marking the papers of his... The professor asked him to mark papers of his classmates and paid him. Paid him to help him mark the papers of the people in his class. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But but anyway, so the contractor would come in with when Kimbal was about 14, you know, and present his papers, and Kimbal would write out a check. And I remember on one occasion he wrote out a check. At the time, I suppose it was a lot of money. In today's money, I would say probably, I don't know, $20,000 or something in today's money as a payment, or something around that amount of money, and in today's money, and for work that this particular contractor had proceeded with in the last 4 weeks, and you work on a sort of payment basis, you see, and I have to agree to the payment, and so Kimbal signed this on one occasion. He did this on several occasions, but one contractor was on a very big project with us. This is the largest prison complex in South Africa, and he contacted me afterwards. Afrikaans, very Afrikaans, Dutch, South African Dutch, very solid guy. He said to me, "Sir, I never in my life have seen anything like that. You know, nooit in my lewe so iets gesien." And I said, "What is that?" He said, "That I arrive at your house, and a little boy meets me at the door. Is very serious, calls me inside, asks me to sit down, asks for certain papers that are relevant. I give them to him, and I'm not sure what's going on. He goes through them. He says, 'Can I have your claim?' I say, 'Yes.' He hands Kimbal the claim. Kimbal looks at the claim. He looks at the various papers as I showed him, taught him, and he signs out a check for, at that time, it was 42,000 that he signs a check for. And 42,000 rands, which in those days was $42,000. So in fact, it's a lot more than $20,000. Sorry, I made a mistake. So yeah, that was Kimbal, you know. And he said, I've never seen anything like that. And he said, "Can I come back to your house?" I said, "Sure." He came back one day and had lunch with us, and he sat with us, and he was just overwhelmed. He couldn't believe it.
No.
You know.
No, with Kimbal.
Yeah.
If you say he was a little boy, Kimbal and Elon's height, you are a tall person.
Yeah, I'm about 6'1", and Elon's 6'2", and Kimbal's 6'4", so they're taller than me.
And at school, were they small children?
No, they were small, of course, but then as time went by, they got taller and taller and taller until eventually, you know, when they reached, 18, 19, they were taller than me, you know. So, which is good. I mean, I don't want my sons to be shorter than me.
And then, regarding the other boys, were they smaller than the other boys? Or?
They were Elon very well built, very strongly built. Kimbal is very tall, very wiry built, you know. Too wiry. Takes too many chances with his sports, and he's already broken his neck on doing crazy sports. But thank God he survived. You know,
What
I mean,
sport?
well, you know, like they do skiing, and they do sledding, and they do snowboarding, and all this kind of stuff. You know, they don't do it like normal people. You know, they do it like insane, crazy, stupid people. You know.
I mean, also over the top.
Over the
Everything
top.
is exceptional.
Yeah, over the top. And Elon, I mean, you know, Elon. You go skiing with Elon. Elon, they said, you know, he's not into sport, but in fact, he was never into ball sports. You know, the ordinary stuff that's fed to the masses, like baseball, and not even that. But when it came to horse riding, when it came to water skiing, and when it came to snow skiing, it's unbelievable. So you go to a run, a ski resort. Elon heads for the Black Run. Now, Kimbal and I followed him once to the Black Run. You see. Now, Kimbal's not bad, and he's better than me, but Kimbal and I can both sort of ski, you know. So anyway, so we follow Elon to the Black Run, you see. So we see this Black Run, and Elon just disappears. It's gone, you know. So Kimbal and I are standing at the top of the black ground, you see. So now we don't know what to do. What should we do this, you know? So what you do with skiing is you snowplow, you know, you sort of push your skis like this so that you can go slowly. But this was so steep, didn't help. So we just both fell on our backs on this slope, and we kind of like went like this all the way down to the bottom, you know, on our backs. You understand what I mean? Just so we could get to the bottom. We never set up at all. It was too dangerous. And yeah, so that's and Elon, of course, you know, he could do everything. He won every prize you could win in snow skiing. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, yesterday I asked you about the various countries that you took the children to for school holidays, and I was amazed. I mean, they basically saw the whole world during their primary and high school years. If you think of the boys, I mean, Tosca also went with you, so.
Yes, yes.
So, is there anything about Kimbal that comes to mind when you think about the school holidays besides the snow skiing?
No, I mean, Kimbal was very good on holidays, on trips, because he was the one who would take we didn't have GPS, so he would take the maps and keep them all in order. So whenever we were traveling to Italy or Austria or whatever country it was, you know, Liechtenberg, I don't know, he would keep all the maps in a chronology, in a sort of order, you know, so as we would need them, and he would sit next to me in the co-driver's seat, and Elon Kimbal, Tosca would sit back, and they were very happy to let Kimbal do this, and he would guide me. I drive, of course, you know, we drive on the left side of the car road here, and those countries are all on the right side. Yeah, so I had a little bit of focusing to do, but Kimbal would, you know, say this, okay, the next turn here, the next turn there, and there was no GPS involved, so it was all Kimbal navigating.
Yes,
you see,
yes.
so yeah, so
this being orderly. Are you and Elon also like that, or
no? Kimbal's better than me. I'm a bit more like Elon, you know. So I like sort of one of those typical guys who tries to get somewhere without asking directions, you know.
So are you and Elon more alike, or are you and Kimbal more alike?
I think there's a bit of both, you know, a bit of both. I try to think I'm a bit like Kimbal, but I'm a lot like Elon. But I like to think I'm a bit like Kimbal.
Do you need a co-driver next to you?
No, I mean, it's nice, you know, when you've got somebody who plans everything, you know, and when you get to hotels and you're on trips overseas or locally or wherever, who comes to you and says, of course we didn't have internet and Google and all that. Kimbal would do it in other ways, you know, say, Daddy, I'd say that hotel in this place, or this motel, or that, it seems to me the right place, you know, and then he would, it also, you know, as being kids, he'd point out the fact that it's near this water park or it's near this or that.
Activities.
Yeah, so he was very helpful, and you know, like we'd get into the hotel and the people would take passports and, you know, whip out that come out of Kimbal's valise, you know, his map valise, which he'd unzip and out would come everybody's passports, and you know, Kimbal was just like that. You didn't actually have to tell him; he just did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he was extremely responsible.
Yeah.
No, but Kimbal, he is a very extraordinary person.
Yeah, and he's very handsome. He's very good looking.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
No, I always thought he's the most beautiful boy I ever saw. Well, actually, both of them really, but I mean,
yeah,
he was so cute when he was small. Yeah.
So, where did Kimbal matriculate?
Victoria Boys High.
Oh, so he also finished school
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And so, Elon, when he went to America, he didn't go with Kimbal. Kimbal still stayed with
Kimbal
you?
stayed with me for another year.
Okay.
And then he followed, went over to Elon.
Yeah. Did Kimbal communicate any ideas for his future plans with you when he was in high school?
I never interfered with their plans. You know, they used to talk about their plans, the two of them together. I used to see them, listen to them talking to each other about things and plans and what they, you know, when they were late teenagers, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I never tried to push engineering on Elon. I mean, I was an engineer. I never tried to push engineering on Elon or Kimbal. I mean, as it turned out, Elon turns out to be an extraordinary engineer. But he started off studying economics. So, I mean, I never said to him, you know, study engineering. I just let them figure it out.
make them
yeah. Kimbal, on the other hand, is an economics graduate and various other things, and he's a very good planning for business, very good for planning and looking at potential difficulties and anticipating difficulties and so on, and an extremely good cook. I mean, you don't want to turn down an invitation to have dinner with Kimbal at any time, ever.
No, I remember.
Taught
Ali,
all the girls as well.
Ali also once said.
He taught Ali.
Had a recipe, and she said
She got
Kimbal.
it from Kimbal.
No, she got it from Kimbal.
He taught her, so she's pretty good too now.
No.
But so he's amazing. He's really amazing.
Thank you, Errol. That was most interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.